All right, welcome to whatever episode number this is with three studs, Clint, Brock, and our guest today, Judge. Judge, thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Pleasure to be here. I'm honored.
So, Judge lives down the street from me, probably 2 miles. I met Judge. He helped us buy our place down here. So, if you need real estate in Phoenix or Scottsdale, this is your guy. Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, when I met Judge, I remember thinking like, who the hell is this guy? He's like kind of a jacked guy. He's with his wife Tracy, and we met. I think at an open house, and then maybe a year later, I met. I'm not making this up. I could not remember Judge's name, and I went in and I typed something like Phoenix real estate fit guy over 50, something like that. And I backed into, I found Judge that way. It was like some weird thing. This is like the beauty of the internet. I could not remember his name. I just could only describe who he was and what he did. So anyway, that's
Greek god.
yeah, Greek
I did
guy.
that one time. I just typed in legend and Judge came up. So it works. Yeah.
So anyway, but hey, Judge, take us back. Like, well, one, just a quick preview, like who you are, your age, just a little bit of about Judge Bellamak, the man.
Born and raised in Phoenix, which is rare. Spent all but 10 years of my life here. I'm 13 days from being 65, which is kind of unbelievable. Um, I've earned a living for 35 years as a residential realtor, done some apartment ownership and built some houses and stuff, but that I don't really consider that who I am. It's just what I've done. My workout journey, and I'll give you a minute on. So I was the little guy in grade school, the little guy in high school that always wanted to put on weight but couldn't. And I think that's kind of important because for me, because I started lifting weights even though it didn't do any good in the seventh grade. And I, before we even had gyms in Phoenix, there was a guy named John Cole that was an Olympic lifter that had the only gym in Phoenix. And Dad drove me there in the seventh grade and signed me up. And I was lifting with these huge guys all around me, but it didn't do any good. Even when I played senior football, I only weighed 152 pounds. And so that kind of stuck with me. And then I would lift on and on, but on and off, but didn't start gaining weight till I was about 30. And at my mid 30s, I weighed 194 and I had finally could put on some muscle. I don't know why it took so long. Just the way my genes are. So then life got in the way. And I reconnected at age 51 with my weightlifting partner from college. We'd had about a 5-year stint together in college. And that was right when the movie Pumping Iron came out. I don't know if you guys remember it, but it was kind of from our era. And so Lou Ferrigno and Arnold Schwarzenegger were going at it in this movie. And we'd never seen anybody that big before. So that just, how can I get my 165-pound body to put on any kind of muscle like that? So we started reading Joe Weider magazines and trying to figure out how to lift like that. And of course, it didn't work because they were selling something that wasn't real. And so I didn't really get to I didn't really get to a pinnacle until I reconnected with my buddy. We both moved back to Phoenix at the same time. The families were gone, and we started working out at 51. I was 51. Weekly, hard, heavy lifting again, not hurting ourselves because we were only 50. And, and then so that was a decade. I met Jag when I was 62.
Hmm.
So, I had a base and I had some strength, but I can tell you at that time, everything that we were doing was still out of the Joe Weider magazines from 1985. The plan that we were doing, the way that we were lifting, the way that we were, and so, the whole new era, which was about to come, was what Argent Alpha brought to me. So,
That's class. That's a classic. I'm picturing like at some point as a kid. Remember the comic books in the back? There'd be the Charles Atlas ad, the guy kicking sand,
yep,
and I think he was more of an isometric kind of guy. So these and then Joe Weider came kind of after that and his whole empire. I think that's super interesting. Um, well, you made the good segue. As a guy who came in with good eating habits, a training base, what did you learn, or how did Argent Alpha change things for you? And again, you're not like this 22-year-old impressionable. You're not a bright shiny object guy. You're kind of a professional skeptic, is the way I'd clarify you. And I think that's a good. I always joke like, if I can convince Judge, it's legit. So talk a little bit about that.
You got me off statins after 30 years, so I can be moved.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so there was no science in what we were doing, and there was no modern influence in what we were doing. We were squatting and deadlifting, and we were doing a bodybuilding body part workout, and I was trying to put on muscle, so I was heavy on protein, but I didn't really, I it didn't feel new. It didn't feel current. It wasn't very exciting. And so it was good timing for me to meet you because the very first thing you did was go get an in-body scan. I'd never heard of an in-body machine before. And all of a sudden I'm looking at skeletal muscle and body fat, and I'm like, this is a whole new game. Oh, I have to process this. What am I going to do to make this one grow and this one shrink? Because before it was just one number, right? Didn't make any sense. And so, I mean, that was the launch. And then the whole early stages of Peter Attia and longevity. I'd never heard of the word longevity before. I didn't even know that was a direction to go in. And then some of the science started to come in, refocus on creatine and my protein eating habits. And I never really had a body fat problem. I think my first scan was 15%, and my lowest scan was 9.5%. And I can tell you, I feel better at about 12% body fat. So that was never the problem. But like, building muscle, if I work out really hard for 6 months, do I get a pound? Do I get a half a pound? It's just started to put it into reality. And so that was really cool.
Mhm.
And then of course, the camaraderie and meeting the guys and meeting twice a year, that was also a big part of it. But how it affected my workout was it just gave me a game to play. I think that's what I need. I need a time limit. I need I need a I put my workout into quarters. So I get the spring and the fall, which are the outside quarters. And then even though our winters aren't bad, I call the winter and the summer the inside quarters. And so I get 3 months of doing something power, and then I get 3 months of doing something more aerobic on the trail out in the thing. And there's usually a backpacking trip or something that's working toward the Grand Canyon run or something that I can the whole I know I'm shotgunning you right now, but the whole idea of misogi fit really good into that quarter, spring and fall. What are we going to do? And so my biggest problem right now is that I'm 65 and all my friends can't do anything. And so I'm going, I want to run a marathon, and everybody's going, good luck. And on my own, okay, maybe it's better that way because then I don't have to I don't have to slow down for anybody or speed up for anybody. I don't know.
No, that's awesome. Well, so you four, or well, us four, we've been to every live event. We've done five of them so far. Um, Brock, I know you converted Judge in one discipline, your passion. Talk about that or whatever's on your mind. Just 'cause I know you got a bunch of things you can run by Judge.
Yeah, kind of led me right along those same lines. My question is, but before that, Judge, I'd totally buy a house from you, but you've made me a better deal of, like anytime I come to Scottsdale, I get to stay with Judge. He's got his stay in his little pool house. He's got his workout facility right there. It's the best accommodation. Get the best night of sleep that I had all year there. So I love that. Thank you. And
How appropriate is it that Brock sleeps in my gym with a down Murphy bed?
I get up in the middle of the night and just get a couple reps in on, a different machine than normal. So
the only thing, Judge, you don't know is Tracy, Judge's wife, requires Brock shirtless the whole time.
moving on. You came in with a nice solid base, as you've said, in your fitness and your nutrition. Coming into this group, talking to whether it be your wife Tracy or other people who know you, what would they say has changed about you physically, mentally, since you've joined Argent Alpha?
The boredom of the repetition and what bothered me my whole 30s, 40s, 50s, not 50s, 30s and 40s was that after a while it seems like maintenance. Going into the gym, kind of doing the same thing. There was nothing new there. I couldn't play a game with myself. It just, I don't know. I was scattered. And so I would say that after Argent Alpha, there was new information. There was new games to play, and and then I just took it from there. Like how can I make this game bigger? Like, Jag came out with bingo. Okay, that was cool. How quickly can I do that? But then there's the Grand Canyon. I mean, it's just to go big, and so I guess that has fueled me. And then every quarter, I'm like, okay, what can I do different? Like right now, this whole Zone 5 thing. Well, that's something different. I would have never thought of that. I would have never pushed to the limits of timing, keeping track of my minutes in Zone 5. I just stuff like that. So it opened my eyes up, uh, and also overcame that hump of I'm too old. Because when I was 60, well, okay, my father had a quadruple bypass at 51 and a triple bypass at 60, and he died of congestive heart failure at 70. And I nurtured him through the whole thing. So I saw what happens to a man's body, when his heart can't pump blood at the right speed, and the nutrients and the oxygen and everything just kills all your organs. And so, and I was on a statin from age 37, 36, somewhere in there, and for 25 years. And so I kind of programmed myself during those years that I was going to end up like my dad. And there was nothing to show me anything different, because when by our age, I mean, I'm 5 decades on the planet. Old people get old and die. That's just what I thought. And all of a sudden, Jag shows up and Peter Attia shows up and all these other guys, they're starting to feed information. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should run. I had back surgery when I was 42 years old. L4, L5 disc decompression because I had played so much golf and just old injuries that golf kept hurting. And so I had this back surgery. And because of that, I stopped running for like 40, from 45 to 50 or 60, 15 years. Yeah. In AA, Jag's putting this information out there and I'm thinking, well, why don't you just run a mile? I used to like to run. And it wasn't that anything hurt except my lower back, but as the lower back pain went away and I didn't even notice it. So I ran a mile. And then I said, well, let's see if you can run a 7-minute mile. And then I ran a 7-minute mile the next week. And then I'm like, well, why don't you run 2? Why don't you run 3? See what you can do. I would have never thought that before. And I didn't know it was going to lead to a marathon, but I didn't know it was going to lead to the Grand Canyon, running down and flat along the Grand Canyon before hiking out. And so all those doors, all that just thinking of your mind. And so I don't even count age anymore. However, I count physical limitations, which, joints and stuff don't quite do what they used to. But but I don't, what happened to my dad is no longer a part of my future.
Totally. You know, one thing I appreciate about you, Judge, is like you come in with a solid base, and you've kept that, and you've like even ratcheted up the dial on that too, and have honed that in. But beyond that, what I really appreciate about you is just like your open-mindedness. You know, like open-minded to jump into doing some mobility and stretching, open-mindedness to change to what, I mean, you could even touch on what you've done outside of here, outside of your profession, you know, in the last couple of years, that focus, being able to run a marathon after not doing it, you know, like while maintaining all of this other stuff. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, the idea of the misogi, which is really the only thing in the book that I liked. You know, the book Comfort Crisis. I like the title and I like the idea of misogi. The other stuff, it's not so much, but the idea of a misogi means you're going to do something for you that's going to hurt. It's going to scare you, but you're not going to die. And it's going to be epic and you're going to think about it all year. Well, you know, that's what guys never do. I'm too busy serving everybody else to make sure everybody in the family's, you know, and happy and got what they need and whatever. And it's like, so I don't know what I'm going to do for 2026, but to me, that's the most fun venture in my mind is what crazy thing that can I do that I'm not sure that I can do.
Hmm.
So I ran the Grand Canyon so in 7 hours. That was cool. You know, I ran a marathon. That was cool. I spent 8 days alone in the bottom of a canyon, you know, living off the fish in a river. That was cool. I don't know. I don't know yet what 2026 is going to bring, but I would have never done any of that if it wasn't for this, you know, I don't know.
That's so good, Judge. That's awesome. That kind of segues into this next question. I'll just read it from here. And you've kind of answered a lot of it, but maybe this is another way to look at it. What surprised you most about the process? Your body, your mindset, or even to top that, what are you capable of at this stage of life and moving forward?
So, what when I was running the marathon, I had this vision that has stuck with me. Not when I was training for the marathon, because you got a lot of time. You know, these were 2.5 and 3.5 hour training runs, and it's just you and the canal bank. And so there's a lot of time. And I had this idea in my head that I'm just like the little 4-inch man sitting in my head with the levers and all the dials, and my body was a cyborg underneath me, and I'm just driving my body. And I thought to myself, there's really a lot of truth to that. Like, I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to run my hips. There's no trophy. My workout partner and I say this all the time. You don't get a trophy for hitting a goal. You just get an attaboy and then you move on, right? So I'm not so driven that I'm going to hurt myself doing anything. But if you're the little guy looking through the eyes in my own head, working the Wizard of Oz, you know, 4 inches tall in my brain, um, then I'm reading, what can I do? And my biggest question with the marathon is my body going to let me do this? In other words, my body's not it's like a separate machine, like
Yeah.
Terminator, you know, and I'm in the brain. And so, what a cool, I thought that is, because our brains, our minds, our mindset is what Argent Alpha calls it. For me, this is also a spiritual thing. It's everything. Our body's just a tool. And so if I can create an idea, a thought, a game in my mind that wants to push me forward, and then I just say, well, can my body do that? And then, okay, bye. Um, and so that's you know, my way of looking at things now. Like, can my brain handle the pain? Can my brain handle the time that it takes? Get enjoyment out of it, and then once my brain says yes, it's just a matter of will it break my machine, you know, my cyborg or not? I don't know. So that's what I don't know if that answers your question, but that was kind of cool.
I think that's amazing. That just reminds me of the saying, think it, believe it, achieve it, you know?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Except if I look at my body as the tool, like a car, and I say, well, are my tires the right pressure? Yeah. Are they new enough? Yeah. Okay. Is the engine is it okay? Then how fast can I take this car? I don't know. Let's just, so it's like two different things. But I came to Argent Alpha with a pretty good car.
Mhm.
And so if somebody's just got to get their machine going so that they can reach the level of being able to program their brain to do all these crazy things. And yeah, that's it. That's it. I don't know. I don't know how helping guys, what Jag does, what the three of you do, helping guys do that is awesome.
Mhm.
Well, Judge, what I hear when I look at you as a friend, I go, okay, here's a guy who's going to turn 65 or level 65, which we got that term from Clint's wife, Suzette, level 65. And I look back and go, what's Judge done since I've known him? Um, so he's run a marathon. He's run the Grand Canyon. He's led a group of guys through the Grand Canyon. He spent 7, 8 days at the Black River by himself, feeding himself out of it. He went to chaplain school, got
Mhm.
that credential. And I'm going, this is what all from like 61, 62 to not quite 65. That's reinvention to me. And from what you've told me, 5 years prior, there was no reinvention. So I think that when I look at what all the stuff you've done, it's like an inspiration for guys to go, A, it's never too late. B, challenge yourself, get with a group of like-minded guys, gamify it. I like how you're phrasing that. I think that the games are fun. And who knows? I mean, were you on track to do all those things in the year 2000? I don't know, maybe, but probably not.
I would have never considered it. I don't, there's another thing that I can add to this, and that's if once you live long enough and you've just experienced enough of what everybody else is chasing, and I think turning 60 for me, maybe for you, Jag, it's a milestone. I want to use the word humbly, but I want to use the word wisdom. Like how many things of the world are you going to experience before you go, yes, been there, done that, don't need to do that again. It's not really so great. As a matter of fact, be kind of happy to let that part of me go. And then you start appreciating other things. So my whole spiritual walk was all around that. Like the world is a pretty tough place, and I believe in evil and I believe in good, and I don't believe that it's just by happenstance. And so that mental shift, I think the wisdom that came with the age for me to look at the world differently, instead of achieving and conquering and collecting things, now I'm just experiencing kind of a, you know, Christians believe that they're born again. I believe that I was born again. I believe that everything is new, and that I have a different purpose now. And collecting things is not part of that purpose. So actually, shedding things is part of that purpose.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah, yeah. Well, you're collecting experiences and you're giving inspirations. That's the right language pattern. So speaking of that, give some. If you're a guy over 50 listening to this, and maybe you're a little bit bigger around the waist than you were. You're maybe a former athlete back in high school, probably achieved some cool things in your career. What sort of advice would you give a guy who's just maybe 50, 55 years old, as far as, because you're further ahead in the journey, and we've talked about that, like you want to be chasing guys further ahead of you in the journey. Like what sort of things come to your mind that you'd share?
Wow. There's a switch in your brain that you flip, and I I see guys struggle because they can't flip that switch. They can't become the new person that they want to be. And they listen and they say things and they want to, part of the part of the spiritual journey I'm on is just connecting with men's groups and men. And men are tough nuts to crack because we carry this shell around us and we don't let our soft underbelly show unless we spend a lot of time together and gain confidence in each other. And so, um, helping guys make that change because everybody's coveting something. And as soon as and it's hidden. I didn't realize this about men until I got involved in the church and I started helping men's groups. And it's like, once you go in and renew that, then, once you can convert your brain, how do you help somebody convert their brain? Because once you do, the world, you can do anything once you get out of this stuck part of your head. But that's a mystery. That's a puzzle. That's what, and, you read all the books and there's different words to say the same thing. So all the authors that we listen and, let's not forget my author of my favorite book, which is Jesus. So I mean, all these books are saying the same thing, basically, was renew your mind and then you can do anything. So, I don't know, why do guys have a hard time not eating? I mean, or overeating or over drinking or whatever other thing they're doing that they shouldn't be doing, that they know they shouldn't be doing, that they're hiding from us that they're doing because and then it's not rocket science, right? And how do you help a guy get beyond that so that he can have, because I mean, I think we've all proven that 50 to 60 to 70 is not, you're not done. If I can be a shining example to everybody, it's that these years we're not done. Whatever injury you're taking, you can fix yourself. The shoulder that we're all working on, just say we've fixed stuff over years just by not giving up on shoulders and wrists. I just told you guys before we got on here about my wrist and things that, so you can reinvent yourself. You can reinvent your whole body. But it's like, how do you help a guy? You're Jag, God bless you, Jag. You're doing this for everybody that will listen. And you bump up against that thing and you're like, man, maybe I can come around this way. How can I get in to his head and help this guy have the best quarter of his life be the fourth quarter?
Mhm. Yeah,
Hey,
I love it.
I got a question for you, Judge. Just because there's so many guys, this is for me personally, just the power of a group and having men to look up to. I thrive off of role models and mentors, and that's why I'm here, and hopefully I give some of that back as well. But I don't know if you're open to sharing, but just a little glimpse into Judge's future self. What's Judge's future self look like?
Yeah, that's um yeah. Yeah, I'm in the process still of developing this, and first of all, I've eliminated all limitations. I mean, if there's no I'm not saying I'm going to live to be this great age, but I'm saying that I don't see my age as a limitation into my future. Whatever my next step is going to be, I don't have to ratchet it down because I'm going to be 70.
Yeah.
And that is a new thought, right? So now you get to a point where we are where maybe you have enough money to retire, maybe you don't, maybe you can, maybe you can, a lot of you guys have seen my house, or maybe you'll see it in, it's more than I need. It's very nice, but I was like telling Tracy, I can live in a trailer now. It's like the new Judge doesn't care anymore. And so maybe there's going to be some sort of service oriented thing that comes up. And right now we're in the domino of mothers. My mother died a year and a half ago, and Tracy's mother's in very bad health right now. And so I can't open doors until we get beyond those two dominoes, which are definitely happening right now. But my future self, right now is not limited to anything. It's not limited to Phoenix. It's not limited to this house. It's not limited to family. The rest of my family. I mean, I don't have any children. I should probably say that, and that's a whole nother subject to talk about, but at another time, I guess. But yeah, no, I don't know what I want to be. I'm 65 years old and I don't know yet what I want to be, and I'm waiting for guidance when I get beyond this most current place that I am.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
love that you said you're not anchored to anything. It's like there's no except or but, or it's like I love the thinking. I mean, that's right there. No limitations on including age, which that sets you free. And I think that for some guys would paralyze them. Um, this whole like, oh my gosh, I've got all these options. I think some guys love the constraints because they don't have to deal with decisions, and so
Yeah.
it's an interesting place to be
Yeah,
in.
which is boredom, right? I mean, if you're so fixed that you know how you're going to live the rest of your life, ooh,
Yeah.
wow. You don't want to, even if it's just shrouded in, wealth. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
That would not, no, that can't work for me. That's the same thing in the gym, like maintenance. That's boredom. That's like, there's no pushing the, I need to be reaching for something.
the age isn't a limitation. That was actually the first thing that I like. You've exemplified this since I've known you. I've known you met you the first time like I don't know three-ish years ago. I was 37. You're 62, and hey, let's go do a little workout. Okay, well, what are we doing, Judge? We're gonna run to Camelback Mountain, and then we're gonna run up Camelback Mountain. I'm like, okay, well, I work out all the time. I should be able to keep up with a 62-year-old, and so we run there, and I'm tired by the time we get to the base of the hill. And I follow Judge. I'm right on his back all the way up this thing. And the whole time, all I could think about is, oh, please just tell me you want to take a rest. Please just once. And we get all the way to the top, no rest. And Judge is going, I was hoping that you were going to ask for a rest. I was hoping, I mean, so, I mean, he's just incredible. You're at 62. I had all I could do to keep up with you. This whoop strap tells me that it was the hardest workout I did all year, by the way. So, coming back to, someone I'm now 40, and someone in their 40s or early 50s, you talked about like the mindset piece of it. Like that is the most important thing to be able to get on top of or to figure out or to take some steps there. Like what would you say is a good first step for someone?
For the
Just on the say I'd want to get a sharper mindset or want to be able to figure this thing out or take some steps towards that. We know the physical side, we know the nutrition side, but how about mentally?
Well, it's really hard for me now to break that answer to unravel it from my spiritual answer. So I'm going to try to keep it secular for you, for everybody, but for me, it's not anymore. How do you give yourself a new outlook for yourself? How do you give yourself a new brain? A new mind, right? Because your old mind is tainted from 60 years of BS that you carried all this stuff with you, and now you want to etch a sketch. You want to shake the etch a sketch, right, and start over with looking at the from today forward fresh. And of course, you still have your body for the 60-year-old body but if you let that limit you, you're stuck, right? So now you got to take your new brain and look at your body. Like if you took my brain and you put it in a 30% body fat body, and I'd go, shit, that's a bummer. Now I've got to fix this body so it matches my brain. Um, I would do things to fix the body. I don't know. I'd have to take inventory of it first and go, what have you given me, God, that I have to deal with to fix this body? And then I would do it. So the guy whose brain is stuck in his body for 60 years doesn't have the mindset to say, listen, I can fix this, but I really believe that it's everything is fixable. You just got to do it. And the alternative to not doing it is sloth and death. And so, what, there's no choice. I mean, there's too many years left. From 60 to 80, there's too many years to not just flip the switch and go for it. So I don't know that there's a trick other than making that. How do you help somebody do that? I don't really. I wish I could say, well, if you just get some red duct tape and strap it on your forehead, and oh, that's all. This is bigger than that. And for men especially, it's just here, put on this backpack and come down into the canyon and sit at the river and look at the future of your life. Because we're so inundated with our own crap, right? With this and busy, busy, busy things that we have to do. And for me, when I go into the wilderness, and I sit and I stare and I think, that's what we don't do anymore. We don't decompress. Or if we do it in a hotel or someplace where room service is, I mean, no, you have to just totally unplug. You really have to go sit somewhere and just contemplate your existence in your life. And it changes everything. And in my opinion, bring the Bible too, but that's my deal. We can have a whole nother conversation about that. But if you're going to renew your brain, you just can't read a book and then put it on the shelf of the other books and then go back to your life. It doesn't renew anything. You might get a good month or two out of it, but how many guys do you see fall off, fall away, don't show up, wander off, wander back, wander off, wander back? I don't know. What are their demons?
Judge, what I'm getting out of this, and you said it like 3 times already, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I know that's what you can't get away from that. Be transformed by
Do not conform to this world. Be transformed by the renewal of your mind. I know.
yeah.
Romans
You're
12,
not going to
2.
change unless you renew your mind. You're not going to transform.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. That's what we do.
Yeah.
If there is a way to surgically implant just that one thing, that one switch in every guy's head, man, that would just open doors. I think that would open doors for everybody, and they would just look at themselves differently. I'm a project now. I'm not stuck in this body. This is just my new project. Fix it.
Yeah.
Move forward, and
So good.
When you took your Black River camping trip for 7 or 8 days or whatever it was, and then you wrote this whole journal on your experience, I still remember you talking like your first, I think it was the first day or maybe even started the second day, where it's just like you got this big backpack on. I don't know how heavy it was, 60, 80 pounds or something like that. You're walking through a river and you're trying to just get to wherever you're going as fast as you can. And you slip and gash up your shin or knee or something like that. And you're like, why am I going so fast? I don't even have a destination. And here I am, and I have the toughest time slowing down. And you just held up your cell phone. It got me thinking of that, of just like, we're so distracted and we can't even step out of that to be able to like sit down and think about what we think about. And I think about your comment there of just like, it takes me 36 hours to be able to slow down, to be able to start the work that I want to. But most people don't even take the day or 12 hours or 24 hours or 36 hours to get there, let alone, okay, now I'm here. Now I finally have this 4, 5, 6 days to do the actual work.
So what is your wilderness? Like if you live in the middle of a big city and you can't get to a wilderness, then you need to find a place that is your wilderness, and that wilderness has to be completely free of distraction. And it's just impossible for men to be free of, you can't even think in a 5-minute window. I find myself it's paralysis. I don't even try to think in a 5-minute window. I know you can be very successful being good at thinking in a 5-minute window, but you're just solving problems that are also in the world. Everything is in the world, right? Everything that we do. And that's that's programming your brain's problem. That's like dopamine shots for your look how good I am at fixing the problems of the world on top of more problems, and I'm successful and I have all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, and you are you happy? Are you healthy? Are you physically healthy? Are you, every guy's got to take an inventory at some point. And I think what is your wilderness? That's the question. Because my wilderness is the actual wilderness. Like I want 55 pounds on my back. I can sustain myself as long as there's a river of water. I can't carry my water for 8 days. And there's bass in that river, so I can eat. And I mean, I reprogram. All I brought was a Bible and a journal, and 2 pens and my readers. I bought a backup pair of readers too, in case. And it was, that was my first misogi because I just like had to reprogram.
You just remind me. So when we get done here, I'm going to add in the I love saying the show notes. The show notes, a link to the newsletter, which was Judge's letter that Brock just mentioned, his whole documentation of that journey. I'm going to throw that in there because I thought it was great. And again, you read that, you'll get an idea of what Brock's talking about, what Judge responded to. And I mean, that never hit me. You can't carry 8 days of water. It'd be like 8 gallons of water you'd have to carry. So you had to bring your filter thing, drinking from the stream, pitch your tent, fish for your dinner. You can't pack 8 days of decent food in a backpack either. Maybe you could get close, but well, hey guys, we got to wrap it up, but this is awesome. We can go another, I don't know about you guys. We can go into round 2 right away. Maybe we have to have a part 2, our first part 2 member spotlight at some point.
We have to do it at the river around a fire.
Okay. Oh, there you go. That would be cool. I'll get my son Max to video it. We'll put on mics. We'll just like let the cameras roll and see what happens. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, I saw Judge yesterday. We'll all see each other in April in Scottsdale at the next live event. And again, dinner at Judge's on Saturday night. Again, it's now a tradition. This will be year 3, so it's now a tradition. But thanks for joining us, Judge. This is great. I mean, I love that last line. What is your wilderness? I mean, what a great question for guys to ponder. And it might start with 5 minutes of just being silent. Maybe it starts there. Just eyes closed, isolated, and then just build from there. Maybe you work up to a solo retreat for a day. Maybe eventually go camping. And one of the things I've been like nudging Judge on is lead men on these trips. I think it'd be a great guy. I mean, like I don't know how to camp. I don't know how to do anything like that. I need a guide. We talk about the hero and the guide, victim, villain. You'd be a natural at that. So I'm just putting this out into the universe on your behalf. The world needs Judge as a guide to help us go find our wilderness.
You have to find your own protein, kill it, clean it, cook it, eat it, and then sleep on the ground.
Man, talk about a qualifier right there. Like already 90% of people listening to this are going out. All right, guys. Well, thanks again. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
In my hour, guys. We'll do it again.
Talk to you soon.